This is meteorologist Matthew East, and this is the Carolina Winter Weather Outlook. These are some of my ideas here as we look at the upcoming 2008-2009 winter season and show you what I'm looking at right now and how things are beginning to unfold and evolve for us. Let's start off with a look at the sea surface temperature anomalies. Now, this is the water temperature related to the average water temperature for this time of year, and this was a snapshot from mid to late October. And a lot of times the driving force for much of North America's winter is what happens in the Pacific, obviously with the west-east flow of the mean winds. And what's going on right now is if you look near the equatorial Pacific, not a lot of deviation from normal. So no strong sign of a La Nina or an El Nino currently occurring. And I think it'll probably stay generally that way for much of the winter. So no strong signal either way of a La Nina or an El Nino there as we head on into this winter season. Here's a look at the probabilistic ENSO or the El Nino Southern Oscillation forecast. And this is from the folks at the International Research Institute. And let me just sort of draw a line here for you. If we're concerned about the winter months, so really we'll sort of end it right here. Look to the left of that. So we're really looking at this area right here on this chart. And all those green bars, that is a very high probability of that ENSO number, or the El Nino, La Nina number, remaining basically neutral. And you notice these probabilities in the red and blue shadings for La Nina and El Nino try to creep up toward the historical average toward next summer and spring. But looks like we'll probably stay pretty close to neutral through the winter months. And this is from the CPC. And again, here we are. This is currently, as I'm cutting this video, at the very end of October. And we might see this try to head down toward a weak La Nina as the winter unfolds. And again, here we are currently, right here. The end of the winter we're concerned about would be right about here. So we might see a weak La Nina try to develop. But in general, I think we're looking at a neutral stage of the ENSO as much of the winter unfolds. Now, of course, we had a very strong La Nina as we went through the past year or so. We're coming off of that, and these are the analogs that come up with a lot of similarities coming off of strong La Ninas. And I tell you, of these analog years, analog winters, my two favorites in terms of how it looks to be correlating very well would be 1973 and 1974, as well as 1988 and 1989. I think those winters correlate very well to what exactly is going on. And a couple interesting things about those winters. First of all, in terms of snow in Charlotte, for the 73-74 winter, the total snow was 6.8 inches for the winter, pretty close to the average for Charlotte. And then the 88-89 winter had 3.5 inches of snow in Charlotte there for the southern Piedmont. And in terms of temperatures, this one feature stuck out at me was for Greensboro. The January temperature had the highest mean temperature occurring there in January of 1974. So it was a pretty warm January overall in 1974 across the region. And that sticks out pretty clearly when you look at the climate statistics. So this all goes into my thinking for these general ideas. Let me take a look also at the Arctic oscillation. And of course, this is only helpful for a relatively short period of time for the upcoming winter. But notice it's going to be heading into the tank as we go into early November, and I mean really a significant drop-off in the AO. It's been a while since we've seen the AO dropping that low, and oftentimes a negative Arctic oscillation correlates very well with some cold air across the lower 48. I think that'll be the case this time. So I think this is probably what I want to call a front-loaded winter, where we're going to see a lot of cold and maybe some snowy type systems move through in November and December, and then we trend towards some milder weather to end the winter. Here's the CFS seasonal forecast, and notice that, again, we're concerned about these time periods right here. Really, you get out of winter for those bottom two panels. And the trend here would be cold to start off the winter, and then as you get toward the 3-month averages of January, February, and March, especially in February, March, and April, things begin to warm up. So here's my general thoughts for the Carolinas. For November and December, I think colder than average temperatures, and maybe significantly colder than average over portions of that stretch, and precipitation probably near the average during those 2 months. Then, as we get into January and February, I'm thinking above average temperatures with near to slightly below average precipitation. Now, that doesn't mean it can't snow in January and February. It just means temperatures could be a little above average. But, of course, the average temperatures in January and February are pretty cold. So even average or slightly above average temperatures can lead to snow in the Carolinas. And so in general, I think for snow lovers, there's reason for hope as we go into this winter. We've had a 4-year stretch in Charlotte. 4 consecutive winters of less than 2 inches of snow, and that doesn't happen too terribly often if you look back to the records since the 1880s. It's not overly often you get 4 consecutive years or even 5 consecutive years of 2 inches or less snow. So theoretically, it looks like we, statistically speaking, should be about to break out of that snow slump. And so in general, I think we're looking at a decent year for snow production, and there you go in terms of temps and precip during the breakdown of the winter, what I'm thinking as of now. All right, so thanks very much for watching. That's my Carolina winter weather outlook. Thank you very much for watching. I'll keep updating my thoughts, of course, on the blog as the winter unfolds, and we'll go through this winter together. And if you're a snow lover like me, let's hope for cold and snow as the winter unfolds.